Hello everybody, I'm Miss Jessica from EVPL McCullough, and today we are continuing our chapter book story time. And the type of book that we are reading today is a spooky book. So we always want reading to be an enjoyable thing, and here comes Harper. So because we are reading a spooky book, I'm trying to kind of set the mood by getting my snuggly blanket ready so that I can feel nice and comfortable as we're reading a spooky book. And you might hear Luna's off to the side of the camera playing on a scratch post. Of course she is, making lots of noise. So the book that we are going to be reading today is called City of Ghosts, and this is by Victoria Schwab, and it says on the inside cover, Cassidy Blake's life is full of ghosts. Ever since Cass almost drowned, okay, she did drown, but she doesn't like to think about it. She can pull back the veil that separates the living from the dead and enter the world of spirits. Her best friend is even a ghost. So things are already pretty strange, but they're about to get much stranger. When Cass's parents land a gig hosting a TV show about the world's most haunted places, the family heads off to Edinburgh, Scotland. Here, graveyards, castles, and secret passageways teem with restless phantoms, and when Cass meets another girl who shares her gift, she realizes how much she still has to learn about the veil and herself. And she'll have to learn fast. The City of Ghosts is even more dangerous than she ever imagined. Okay, so this is a spooky book, so if this is not something you are interested in listening to, definitely pause this and join us next Friday. Okay, so City of Ghosts. And there is a map of Edinburgh, Scotland, which I'm not going to get too much into, but if you do happen to read this book, there is that for a reference. And we have part 1, The Inspectors. Chapter 1. People think that ghosts only come out at night or on Halloween, when the world is dark and the walls are thin. But the truth is, ghosts are everywhere. In the bread aisle at your grocery store, in the middle of your grandmother's garden, in the front seat on your bus. Just because you can't see them doesn't mean they aren't there. I'm sitting in history class when I feel the tap, tap, tap on my shoulder like drops of rain. Some people call it intuition, others second sight. That tickle at the edge of your senses telling you there's something more. This isn't the first time I felt it. Not by a long shot. Not even the first time I felt it here at my school. I've tried to ignore it. I always do, but it's no use. It wears away at my focus, and I know the only way to make it stop is to give in. Go and see for yourself. From across the room, Jacob catches my eye and shakes his head. He can't feel that tap, 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 but he knows me well enough to know when I do. I shifted my seat, forcing myself to focus on the front of the classroom. Mr. Meyer is valiantly trying to teach despite the fact that it's the last week of school before summer vacation. Toward the end of the Vietnam War in 1975, U.S. troops, my teacher drones on. Nobody can sit still, let alone pay attention. Derek and Will are sleeping with their eyes open. Matt is working on his latest paper football. Alice and Melanie are making a list. Alice and Melanie are popular kids. You can tell because they look like copies. Same shiny hair, same perfect teeth, same painted nails. Or I'm all elbows and knees, round cheeks and curly hair. I don't even own nail polish. I know you're supposed to want to be one of the popular kids, but the truth is I never have. It just seems like it would be exhausting trying to keep up with all the rules, smile but not too wide, laugh but not too loud, wear the right clothes, play the right sports, care about things but never care too much. Jacob and I have rules too, but those are different. As if on cue, Jacob stands up and makes his way toward Melody's desk. He could be a popular kid, I think, with his floppy blonde hair, bright blue eyes, and good humor. He shoots me a devilish look before perching on the edge of her desk. He could be. But there's just one problem. Jacob's dead. Things we need for a movie night, he reads aloud from Melanie's paper, but I'm the only one who can hear him. Melanie folds another sheet, an invitation. I can tell by the capital letters, the pink pen, and reaches forward to pass it to Jenna, who sits in front of her. As Melanie does this, her hand goes straight through Jacob's chest. He looks down as if offended, then hops off the desk. Tap, tap, tap goes the feeling in my head, like a whisper I can't quite hear, impatient. I check the clock on the wall, waiting for the lunch bell. Jacob meanders over to Alice's desk next, examining the many multicolored pens she keeps lined up across the top. He leans in closely and gingerly brings one of his fingers to the pens, all his focus narrowed on the nearest one as he pokes it. But the pen doesn't move. In the movies, poltergeists can lift televisions and slide beds across the floor, but the truth is it takes a lot of spirit power for a ghost to reach across the veil, the curtain between their world and ours. And the ghosts that do have that kind of strength, they tend to be really old and not very nice. The living may take strength from love and hope, but the dead grow strong on darker things, on pain and anger and regret. Jacob furrows his brows as he tries and fails to flick Matt's paper football. I'm glad he's not made of all that stuff. I don't actually know how long Jacob's been dead. I think the word quietly because I know he doesn't like it. It can't have been that long, since there's nothing retro about him. He's got on a superhero t-shirt, dark jeans and high tops, but he doesn't talk about what happened, and I don't ask. Friends deserve a little privacy, even if he can read my mind. I can't read his, but all things considered, I would rather be alive and not psychic than psychic and a ghost. He looks up at the word ghost and clears his throat. I prefer the phrase corporally challenged. I roll my eyes because he knows I don't like it when he reads my mind without asking. Yes, it's a weird side effect of our relationship, but come on, boundaries. It's not my fault you think so loud, Jacob replies with a smirk. I snort, and a few students glance my way. I sink lower in my chair, my sneakers knocking against my book bag on the floor. The invitation Melanie passed to Jenna makes its way around the room. It doesn't stop at my desk. I don't mind. Summer's almost here, and that means fresh air and sunshine and books to read for fun. It means the annual family trek down to the rented beach house on Long Island so Mom and Dad can work on their next book. But most of all, it means no hauntings. I don't know what it is about the beach house. Maybe the fact that it's so new, or the way it sits on a calm stretch of shore, but there seems to be far fewer ghosts down there than here in upstate New York, which means that as soon as school's out, I get 6 full weeks of sun and sand and good night's sleep. 6 weeks without a tap, tap, tap of restless spirits. 6 weeks of feeling almost normal. I can't wait for the break. I can't wait. And yet, the moment the bell rings, I'm up. Backpack on one shoulder and purple camera strap on the other, letting my feet carry me toward the persistent tap, tap, tap. Crazy idea, says Jacob, falling into step beside me, but we could just go to lunch. It's Meatloaf Thursday. I think, careful not to answer out loud. I'd rather face the ghosts. Hey now, he says. We both know Jacob's not a normal ghost, just like I'm not a normal girl. Not anymore. There was an accident. A bike, a frozen river. Long story short, he saved my life. Yeah, I'm practically a superhero, Jacob says, right before a locker swings open in his face. I wince, but he passes straight through the door. It's not that I forget what Jacob is. It's pretty hard to forget when your best friend is invisible to everyone else, but it's amazing what he can get accustomed to. And it says something that the fact that Jacob's been haunting me for the past year isn't even the strangest part of my life. We hit the split in the hall. Left goes to the cafeteria, right goes to the stairs. Last chance for normal, Jacob warns, but he's got that crooked grin when he says it. We both know we passed normal a long time ago. We go right. Down the stairs and along another hall against the flow of lunchtime traffic, and with each turn, the tap, tap, tap gets stronger, turning into a pull like a rope. I don't even have to think about where to go. In fact, it's easier if I stop thinking and just let it reel me in. It draws me to the doors of the auditorium. Jacob shoves his hand into his pockets and mutters something about bad ideas. And I remind him he didn't have to come, even though I'm glad he did. That it is, I say, ninth rule of friendship, he says, ghost watching is a two-person sport. That it is, I say, snapping the cap off my camera lens. It's a clunky old beast, this camera, a manual with a busted viewfinder and black and white film hanging off my shoulder on its thick purple strap. If a teacher catches me in the auditorium, I'll say I was taking photos for the school paper, even though all the clubs have ended for the year and I never worked for the paper. I push open the auditorium doors and step inside. The theater is huge with a high ceiling and heavy red curtains that hide the stage from view. Suddenly, I realize why the tap, tap, tap has led me here. Every school has stories. We used to explain that creaking sound in the boys' bathroom, that cold spot at the back of the English room, the smell of smoke in the auditorium. My school's the same. The only difference is that when I hear a ghost story, I get to find out if it's real. Most of the time, it's not. A creaky sound is just a door with bad hinges. A cold feeling is just a draft. But as I follow the tap, tap, tap down the theater aisle and up onto the stage, I know there's something to this particular story. It's the one about a boy who died in a play. Apparently, a long time ago, when the school first opened, there was a fire in the second act of A Midsummer Night's Dream. The set went up in flames, but everyone got out. Or so they thought, until they found the boy under the trapdoor. Jacob shivers beside me, and I roll my eyes. For a ghost, he scares so easily. Have you ever thought, he says, that you don't scare easily enough? But I scare just as easily as anyone. Believe it or not, I don't want to spend my time searching for ghosts. It's just that if they're there, I can't ignore them. It's like knowing there's someone standing right behind you and being told not to turn around. You can feel their breath on your neck, and every second you don't look, your mind just makes it worse, because in the end, what you don't see is scarier than what you do. I climb onto the stage, Jacob at my heels. I can feel him hesitating, his own reluctance dragging me back as I pull up a corner of the heavy red curtain and slip backstage. Jacob follows, passing straight through the curtain. It's dark here, so dark it takes a second for my eyes to adjust to the various props and benches scattered across the stage. A thin ribbon of light comes from beneath the curtain. It's quiet, but there's an eerie sense of motion. The faint groan of sandbags settling in their hinges, the whisper of air beneath the floorboards, the rustle of what I hope is paper and not rats. I know that some of the older kids in school dare each other to go back here, to put their ear to the floor and listen for the boy who didn't make it. I heard them bragging about it once in a hall, how long they'd each lasted. 1 minute, 2, 5. Some claim they heard the boy's voice. Others say they smelled smoke, heard the footsteps of fleeing children. But it's hard to know what rumors end up and truth, where the rumor ends and truth picks up. Nobody dared me to come here. They didn't have to. When your parents write books about paranormal activity, people assume you're weird enough to go on your own. I guess they're right. I'm halfway across the darkened stage when I trip over something and stumble forward. Jacob's hand shoots out to catch me, but his fingers go through my arm, and I bang my knee on the wooden floor. My palm smacks hard, and I'm surprised when the floor bounces a little, until I realize I'm on top of the trap door. The tap, tap, tap grows more insistent under my hands. Something dances at the edge of my sight. Excuse me. A thin gray curtain caught in a constant breeze. Different from the heavy red stage curtain. This one, no one else can see. The veil. The boundary between this world and somewhere else. Between the living and the dead. That is what I'm looking for. Jacob shifts his weight from one foot to the other foot. Let's get this over with. I get back to my feet. Ghost 5, I say for luck. A ghost 5 is like a high five for friends who can't really touch. It's basically just me putting my hand out my hand and him pretending to hit it, both of us murmuring a small, soft smack sound on contact. Oof, says Jacob, pulling his hand away. You hit too hard. I laugh. He's such a dork sometimes. But the laughter makes space in my chest, clears out the fear and nerves as I reach for the veil. I've seen people on TV, ghost whisperers, talk about crossing over, connecting with the other side like it's flipping a switch or opening a door. But for me, it's this: finding a part in the curtain, catching hold of the fabric, and pulling. Sometimes when there's nothing to find, the veil is barely there. More smoke than cloth and hard to catch hold of. But when a place is haunted, really haunted, the fabric twists around me, practically pulling me through. Right here, right now, it dances between my fingers, waiting to be caught. I grab hold of the curtain, take a deep breath, and pull. Let's see. We'll do one more chapter. Chapter 2. When I was younger, I used to be afraid of the monster in the closet. I couldn't go to sleep until my dad came in, threw open the closet door, and showed me it was empty. Crossing the veil is like opening the closet door. Of course, the difference is monsters aren't real. The closet was almost always empty. The veil, not so much. A chill washes over my skin. For a second, I'm not backstage, but underwater, the icy current closing over my head, the light vanishing as something heavy pulls me down, down, down. Cassidy? I blink at the sound of Jacob's voice, and the memory of the river is gone. I'm backstage again, and everything is the same but different. The stage is faded like an old photograph, but it's not as dark as it was before. Instead, it's lit up by a handful of spotlights, and I can hear the murmur of an audience beyond the curtain. Jacob's still at my side, but he looks solid and real. I glance down at myself. As always, I look more or less the same, a little washed out, but still me. Down to the camera around my neck. The only real difference is the light inside my chest, a coil of cool blue-white brightness that shines straight through my ribs like the filament in a light bulb, like Iron Man. Jacob sometimes jokes I hold the camera against my front to muffle the glow. "Places," calls an adult's voice from the wings, and I jump. Jacob grabs my sleeve to steady me, and this time his hand doesn't go through me. He has more weight, or I have less, but either way, I'm grateful for the contact. "Act 2, the voice adds, and I know what this is. When this is. The night of the fire." In a flurry, like bats set loose, boys and girls, have to get a drink. Boys and girls in fairy crowns and glittering capes race across the stage. They don't notice me and Jacob. The curtains come up and the audience murmurs from the darkened theater. My first urge is to duck, to scramble back into the wigs, but I remind myself that the audience isn't really there. This place, this space, this time, it belongs to the ghost and his memories. Everything else is just dressing. I raise the camera, not bothering to look through the viewfinder. It's cracked. I snap a few quick photos, knowing that the most I'll see on the film is a shadow of what's here. A little more than normal, a little less than truth. "And to think," Jacob whispers wistfully, "we could be in the cafeteria having lunch like normal people." "You can't eat, and I see ghosts," I whisper back as the second act begins. The fairies gather in the makeshift woods around their queen. I scan the stage, the bridges overhead, the props, searching for the source of the fire. Maybe that's why I'm drawn to places like this. Ghosts stick around for a reason. Maybe if someone learns the truth, if I learn the truth about what happened, it'll bring them peace. They'll go away. "That's not how it works," whispers Jacob. My head snaps toward him. "What do you mean?" He opens his mouth to answer when a boy appears. He's short with pale skin and a mop of black curls, and I know he's the one, the ghost. There's just this feeling like the ground is tipping toward him. I watches as his cape catches on the ropes and rigging on the wings. He manages to pull free, stumbles onto the stage in front of us, but he drops his crown and has to double back. For a second, his eyes meet mine, and I think he sees me. And I want to say something, but Jacob presses a hand over my mouth and shakes his head. The music starts and the boy's eyes cloud, and I watch him take his place. "We should go," whispers Jacob. "But I can't, not yet. I need to know what happened." As if on cue, I hear the hiss of a rope and turn to see the rigging. The one the boy got caught on coming loose, uncoiling. A bag of sand slides, sinks, falls, and as it does, it catches on a power box, knocks a fuse, there's a spark, just a spark. Such a small thing, but as I watch, it leaps to the nearest thing, an unused piece of the paper forest shoved into the wings. Oh no, I whisper as the play continues. It doesn't start a fire, not at first. It's only warmth and smoke that goes unnoticed in the darkened theater. I look up and watch the thin tendrils spread and thicken and coat the ceiling like a low cloud. Still, no one notices. Not until at last it becomes fire. There's so much kindling on the stage, a forest made out of wooden planks and gossamer and paint. It catches so fast. And finally, the spell of the play is broken. The fairy students scatter and the audience panics. And I know it's just a memory, an echo of something already said and done, but I can feel the heat as it spreads. Jacob grabs my hand, pulling me away from the raging flames. Even through the panic, my fingers turn the camera crank, snapping photos, eager to catch something as the world around me turns to smoke and fire and panic. My head is beginning to feel foggy, like I've been holding my breath. I know I've been here long enough that it's time to go, but my feet won't move. And then I see the dark-haired boy trying to stay low, the way you're taught in class, but the fire is spreading so fast, swallowing the set on every side, climbing the curtains. There's nowhere to run. The whole stage is up in flames. So he goes down, shuffles on his hands and knees until he reaches the trapdoor. Don't! I call. But of course it's useless. He doesn't listen, doesn't turn. He pulls the door up and climbs down into the dark just before a piece of burning set collapses on top of the stage, pinning the trapdoor shut. Cassidy, says Jacob. But I can't tear my eyes away from the fire, even as my lungs fill with smoke. Jacob grabs me by the shoulders. We have to go, he orders. And when I don't move, he gives me a push, and I stumble, falling backward over a wooden bench. By the time I hit the stage floor, it's cold. The fire is gone, as is the light coming from my chest. Jacob crouches over me, ghostly again, and I slump back breathless. Sometimes, you see, I get stuck. It's like Neverland and Peter Pan. The longer the Lost Boys stayed, the more they forgot. The longer I'm on the wrong side of the veil, the harder it is to get out. Jacob crosses his arms. Are you happy now? Happy isn't the right word. The tapping is still there. It never goes away, but at least I know now what's on the other side. It makes it easier to ignore. Sorry. I get to my feet, brushing the invisible ashes from my jeans. I could still taste the smoke. Rule number 21 of friendship, says Jacob. Don't leave your friend in the veil. The school bell rings as he says it. Lunch is officially over. Okay, and we're going to stop there. So we haven't even gotten to the part where she actually travels to Scotland and gets to this haunted place. So, oh my goodness, I'm very into this story and cannot wait to keep reading it. So if you would like to keep reading it, you can get a print copy from our locations. You can always put a hold on it, have it sent to wherever you'd like to pick it up. But there are also audiobook copies and ebook copies, so digital copies that you can get on a device and either listen to or read. So lots of options if you want to keep reading the story. I know I'm going to keep reading my copy and keep this for a little bit until I can finish the story because, yeah, I'm kind of into this. I want to know what happens with her and her ghost friend Jacob. Okay, so it's that time where we're going to use our Plinko board to see what we're going to be reading next time. All right, so we just finished our spooky book, so it is now time to find out what we're going to be reading next time. And you can't see her, but Harper is right behind here, ready to help us. Okay, so we have our genres. We have spooky, mystery, realistic fiction, adventure, Miss Jessica's Choice, science fiction, historical fiction, humor, and fantasy. And just a reminder that if it happens to land on something that we just did, I will probably redo it just so that we can get some variety, because that's the whole point of this, is to get some variety. Okay, here we go. Ooh, mystery. That's a fun one. All right, so next time we will be reading something that is considered a mystery. So something that is going to need to be solved or figured out by the end of the book. So that's an exciting one. All right, well, thank you very much for joining us today for our chapter book story time. Don't forget to go to evpl.org or to our Facebook or our YouTube page and like and subscribe and all of the different things so that you can follow us and make sure that you know what's coming up, what we're having. If you go to evpl.org, all of our events are listed there so you can see what we're doing. Besides just chapter book story time, we also have all kinds of different activities for you to do, like STEAM and do-it-yourself crafts. So there's so much there. And also you get to come in and visit us in the library. So if you have any of these books that you are interested in checking out or getting some recommendations, definitely visit us and we will be happy to help you find some things that you would enjoy reading. All right, well, thank you again for joining us, and Harper and I will see you next time, next Friday for Chapter Book Story Time. Bye!